There's a new Reuters Ipsos poll out on the idea of secession. Apparently, the situation in Scotland made people curious as to how Americans feel about this issue for our own country. And the results of the survey are shocking to some people, but I can't say I'm too shocked by it. Quote, 23.9% of Americans polled said they strongly supported or tended to support the idea of their state breaking away from America, while 53.3% of the 8,952 respondents strongly opposed or tended to oppose the notion. The urge to sever ties with Washington cuts across party lines and regions, though Republicans and residents of rural western states are generally warmer to the idea than Democrats and Northeasterners. So to give you some more details on that, Republicans were more inclined to support the idea of secession, with 29.7% favoring it compared to 21% of Democrats. Now, is it possible that if the administrations were reversed, that the numbers would reverse? Absolutely. In fact, as of right now, in the Northeast, it's 17.4% that say secede. That's the lowest number. And in the Southwest, it's 34.1%. That includes Texas, and that's the highest. And people gave all kinds of answers and reasons as to why they would be in favor of secession. Things from Obamacare. How that's a reason for secession, your guess is as good as mine. Because Obamacare is the same as the health care we had before, except now you're just mandated to buy private health insurance at a discount. The idea that it's some sort of radical change and it's a negative thing is positively absurd. But some people said it. They said, okay, yeah, Obamacare is a reason for us to secede. Some people said ISIS. ISIS is not in Nebraska. I hate to tell everybody. That's not a reason to secede. That doesn't make any sense. And some reasons were decent, like gridlock and Washington corruption. So what are we to make of this here? Now, most of the articles I read about this, they had a very mocking tone in their headline. Okay. And I have to say, I kind of disagree with the mockingness of all this, if I can make up a word, which I think I just did. Because, yeah, look, it is ridiculous for somebody to be 100% in favor of secession and to be positive and strong that we know everything will work out just dandy if we do this. No, you can't know that, and to change something like the United States of America like that, it's a scary prospect under any circumstance. However, is there possibly some conceivable scenario where rational people can support the idea of the United States of America breaking up? I say absolutely. To shut the door on it completely for all circumstances when we don't know what possible circumstances can happen down the road, to me that's just silly. That's just dogmatism. So, to give an example here, if you do break up the U.S. and you do it right, maybe it would make sense. So, for example, you could break it up into 6 regions, because the U.S. isn't really, we're not really, in terms of culture and identity and psychological and sociological structure, we're not really one country. We're really about 6 different countries. The Northeast is kind of its own thing. The South is obviously its own thing. Texas is clearly its own thing. And then you have the Midwest is its own thing, and California is its own thing, or actually 2 separate things, because Northern is much more conservative than Southern. So if you were to break up the U.S. into 6 or 7 countries and make it like the European Union, for example, where we still have treaties and we still keep things relatively the same, but they're just different borders, and you have different governments within those 6 or 7 different countries, yeah, there is a world in which that makes perfect sense. And if that puts me in league with some crazy people from Texas or Mississippi who just want to secede for the wrong reasons, so be it. Now, again, to be clear, I'm not coming out and saying, well, let's absolutely 100% break up the United States of America today, and I'm on board. No. In fact, if you were to ask me today, should we break things up, I'd say no. But look, there's a good, genuine reason for concern about how the system is functioning, and it's corruption. That's the heart of the issue. That's the heart of the matter, to steal a phrase from Don Henley. Okay, and the problem is that the politicians don't listen to the people anymore on almost any issue. That's not me speaking. There was a study, a political science study that came out recently where they went over from 1980 and onward. They looked at the trends in terms of legislation. Who is it actually helping and who's getting their way? And the answer, billionaires, multinational corporations, and the establishment, whereas the American people are getting royally fucked in the ass. So first, I would like to get the 28th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, the Wolfpack Amendment, get money out of politics, ban corporate personhood, mandate clean elections, which is publicly financed elections, bar private donations to politicians. That would, honestly, overnight probably fix 50% of our problems, because at that point we'd be able to have a real debate. We'd be able to have serious ideological discussions and not just discussions about whose donors are going to get represented, depending on if Democrats or Republicans win. So I'd like to try that. And look, in all seriousness, if it gets to the point where that's not possible, for whatever reason, I think it is possible, but if it ever got to the point where that's not possible, and Congress, for example, continually polls at a 9% approval rating, 9%! Less than 10% approval, that's insane! Single digits! Okay, if that's the case, and that continues for a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, and then somebody stepped to me and said, hey, Wolfpack failed, Congress has a 9% approval rating, and it's falling. And it's been like this for fucking decades. Would you be in favor of this proposal to maybe split up the U.S. into 6 or 7 countries? I'd say yes. I would say yes in that scenario.